3D printer market spans from the consumer to the design office and increasingly to the factory floor for everything from tooling to production parts. Ultimaker is one company that seems to span that entire market. We spoke with President John Kawola to find out more about how industrial additive manufacturing applications are developing, especially those with desktop scale printers.
Well, actually, this is our first time at IMTS, so I think 3D printing being at IMTS is also a relatively new thing over the last couple cycles of the show. And what we're showing off, part of it is a new product, part of it is talking about new applications that customers are really getting into. So this is actually the S5, which we debuted in April, started shipping in May and June, and getting out to lots of enterprise customers. And so customers buy Ultimaker for a variety of reasons. Prototyping is a big one, big part of it. So we're really increasingly becoming a little bit more of the standard in the design office, which is a goal of ours. But what we're finding is a lot of those customers are also pushing the limits of what a desktop printer can do. And in some ways bringing it from, we often talk about it as the carpet floor is where design and engineering is happening, but the concrete floor is where manufacturing is happening. And so increasingly we're seeing our customers bring the desktop printers designed for the carpet floor into the manufacturing floor, primarily for jigs, fixtures, tools, different types of implements that help them do their job better on the factory floor. And also the idea is even extending not just to the factory floor, but also outside of the organization. So there's a number of companies experimenting with, these are generally companies who produce equipment for production. So they're producing production line equipment, might be for packaging or something else, and then they're, as part of the package, they're including Ultimakers as a way for every cell to have a convenient tool for jigs and fixtures and tools. In a lot of ways, a jig or a fixture or tool is strictly a functional part. Like the aesthetics of it are much less important than most end products. And so if there's a certain type of geometry, but if it really gets the job done in terms of being a jig or fixture or tool, then they'd like to do that and then have the design freedom to be able to just print it out. At Ultimaker, we actually don't have, we sell lots of printers around the world. We actually don't have that many service providers who have farms and that are selling parts. We have some, but it's much more prevalent that it's the end users themselves. And I think that's a function of the fact that these printers are relatively inexpensive and relatively simple to use. I mean, there's lots of printers out there from some of our colleagues in the marketplace that are hundreds of thousands of dollars, very capable, but probably also need a higher level of sophistication in operation. And that you see more and more of those going to service providers. I mean, there's plenty of examples of customers using a desktop printer for design, verification, engineering. Maybe when they want something a little bit more in terms of a final prototype, then they might outsource and get a laser-sintered part or metal part done. So I think having that experience of having these close to the designer and engineer, I think gives them the freedom to iterate and change their design, gets them comfortable with what could be produced, gives them a better sense for what they could also outsource. As this technology emerges and continues to grow, one of the aspects of how we think about our business is that we're open platform in terms of materials. So we have our own line of materials, and that continues to expand, which is great. But we have other people coming into the market, some of the larger plastics companies of the world, who are developing plastics for use on a desktop 3D printer. And I think we're excited about that because those big plastic companies are the companies who supply plastic for injection molding for all the big manufacturers in the world. They're entering the filament market. They're bringing their expertise to create filaments that are similar to their production materials. And I think that gives customers more confidence that what they're doing here is a pathway to what they do in production. It also increases the capability of what this 3D printer is. I think one of the realizations that you have to have here, being at IMTS especially, is we're here in this hall, this very small portion of the hall, which is additive. And you walk around, you walk across to the North Hall, and you see the scale of machine tools and manufacturing. I think it brings back home that as excited we are about this industry and how excited it can expand, it's still a really, really small part of manufacturing in general. But we think that potential is certainly there. And part of that, what will also drive that is as companies and consumers start to really drive a demand for more distributed manufacturing. I mean, the more distributed it is, whether if you have 100 factories versus one factory, or 1,000 factory versus 10 factories, that's going to drive the attractiveness of additive more so than it is today.